Hello, I'm Artsy Bat Brooke, and today we're going to actually be doing some sewing because I really needed a change of pace because I'm having the hardest time focusing because while I'm filming this, we're 2 days away of going to another Comic-Con, and I found this really cute outfit that I put together just as a more casual Comic-Con outfit, and I thought it'd be a cool idea to add some pockets to the belt. So it's going to take up a lot of the screen. So this is the belt, huge chunky belt, really cool. And so what I wanted to do is add some pockets because I found a dress with a we're going to call it a Batgirl a symbol on it, and we're calling it a Batgirl symbol because, I mean, it was labeled as Batman, but we could argue that it was Cassandra Cain Batgirl inspired as well. So with that, I just wanted to make my own utility belt pockets so that I can have like my phone and my wallet on hand, and then everything else I can just have it in a backpack. So these are all the supplies. I sort of cut everything out because I can barely cut things out with fabric to begin with. I used to always make my mom do it when I was younger, and it annoyed her to death because she wanted to use a pattern and we could never find a pattern that was similar to what I was imagining, so I always had to make up my own patterns. And I mean, even for this, the patterns, like this little sheet of parchment paper. And I can serve, I just traced my phone, gave space on the bottom for my phone width, as well as I have a pop socket. And it's not just a normal pop socket because of my phone. The case I got for it was silicone, and pop sockets don't stick to silicone. I had to do a non-adhesive pop socket. Anyway, so then I have the flap, and then the area that's going to be the bag, and a whole other bunch of little bits and pieces. This is all going to be for it. So yeah, lots of pieces here, and I just wanted to say this pencil is from my Castle Arts set, Ivory Black. This set was actually a Van Gogh set, and it was just funny because I was like, oh, what's nearby that I can draw on the fabric? Oh, let me try this colored pencil. And it worked fantastic. So I did all of my drawing on the what's considered the wrong side of the fabric, so then the right side will be fine. And because my sewing machine got a little out of whack, I'm hand stitching all of this. Am I going to go crazy? Probably from doing this, but hopefully it'll be worth it in the end. So yeah, let's just see how this goes. Just for fun, I thought we could talk about Batgirls. And when I say Batgirls, I mean there are multiple Batgirls. And there's a couple of them that I don't know a lot about, but there are 3 that I know a little bit more about in different ways. And I just want to start with what's sometimes considered the original Batgirl, others consider it not to be. It depends on where you're looking at it, because oh my goodness, comics are a mess because they like to restart things and new continuities, and this continuity doesn't match with the old continuity, but all of them are the same. And oh my goodness, so this is where Marvel has different Earths, and I don't know if DC has different Earths too, of parallel universes, and it's just a mess. So anyway, the most well-known, thought to be first Batgirl, which can be argued is not the official first Batgirl, but in most people's mind she is the first Batgirl, is Barbara Gordon. And Barbara Gordon is, at least to my understanding, the current Batgirl, it's so convoluted in comics that is absolutely insane. So Barbara Gordon is Police Commissioner Jim Gordon's daughter, and she has become Batgirl in a multitude of different ways. It just depends. The character Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, was created for the, oh, I forgot the year, I think the 60s Batman show, because they knew that the female characters actually were doing well, so they decided to add a female hero trying to save the show. And I think the coolest thing is that she almost got her own spin-off, and I absolutely loved that she almost got her own spin-off. I thought that was so cool, and that is the one Batgirl that has the most time as Batgirl that I have seen. And Barbara Gordon classically has red hair in most of her depictions, and there's some depictions like the TV show that had the purple suit, and there's some that had a black suit, and this is still only Barbara Gordon. I've seen one that was like a gray with a little bit of blue. My favorite happens to be the purple, and the reason my favorite happens to be the purple is because I feel like Batgirl is definitely one of the characters that got me into reading comics. Now, I'm a late starting to read comics, and I started to read comics because of my boyfriend introduced me and got me into a couple that I enjoyed. But I feel like Batgirl was just having that a superhero that was a female superhero that they could look up to. Now, the one Batgirl that really made me fall in love with a character, a Barbara Gordon Batgirl, was there's a show called DC Superhero Girls, and though it was made for kids, I thought it was brilliantly done, developing the characters in a way that I feel like modernized a lot of the characters, along with making them very relatable and in a way timeless. I mean, for the fact that Barbara Gordon and Batgirl is using technology and they have cell phones, but is then a tech nerd. Everything she's made herself, and with being a tech nerd, but also has like social, like she found friends. She was the one who initiated the group, trying to find other people, finding everyone else, and she sort of was the glue, as well as just her being intrigued with everything. So I think my favorite thing was when she found out who the Flash was, and it was someone they knew from school, and she just goes and talks to him for the longest time about calorie intake and all the scientific stuff that would go into being the Flash. And I thought that was the coolest thing, because that would be something that I'd be doing. I'd be talking to him being like, okay, how can you keep this up? And just wanting to know that science. So I thought it was really fun. And me personally, I find those type of shows really relaxing and a mood boost. So having that mood boost associated with Batgirl was something where I wanted to learn more about Batgirl. And that's where I could go back and I could see all the previous iterations of Barbara Gordon. But then I found out about other ones, and this is where I really started to go into all the Batgirls and wanting to learn more about them. And I still need so much more time because there are so many comics that I missed. But there is one currently running, and I know it's going to be ending soon, but I am enjoying it. I'm behind, but I'm catching up. And that is the run of Batgirls, because it has not just Barbara Gordon Batgirl and her role as being Batgirl, but she also has more of an Oracle role. But it also has Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown Batgirls. So when I say Oracle, there is a storyline that is very strange, and I think that how they came about to make the storyline was not very thought out, but eventually Barbara Gordon becomes paralyzed and instead is just more of a tech person behind the scenes called Oracle. And in that time, that's when there are other Batgirls. Now, there are two of them. I can never remember which one was first. But we are going to talk about the Stephanie Brown Batgirl, also called Spoiler. And she was actually a Robin. So she was a Robin first, and her backstory goes into the fact that her father was a supervillain and she was trying to spoil all of his plans. Hence why she ended up becoming called Spoiler. And with the Stephanie Brown Batgirl, is so interesting just to see her personality in the Batgirls comic reflected against the Barbara Gordon as well as the Cassandra Cain. Now for the Stephanie Brown one, she is blonde. She has her mask coming up from underneath to cover her nose, and then she has a hood that goes into her cape. And her color scheme is black and magenta, and it is so striking because it's a darker magenta. Definitely could be a blend in the shadow one compared to the bright yellow and purple of the Barbara Gordon Batgirl. Now I'm saying like the older iterations, not the most modern one. And so that one is really interesting. I'm still having a hard time finding it, but I feel like she would make her interesting to go back, read all those comics, because she seems very talkative, more of a, I might be wrong, but this is what I get, is she's a little bit more feminine than the other Batgirls. Now this is just my personal opinion. And she is a lot more talkative. It's hard to describe when I'm seeing my video trying to do the voiceover. So with that Batgirl, she, to me, seems a little more feminine, very talkative. I mean, she's going to be the one who is going to have a lot more excitement over more normal stuff compared to Barbara Gordon, who is the techie, seems a little bit more reserved and is more geeky. Then we have Cassandra Cain, who is also known as Orphan. And this is where I think the personalities watching, when I say watching, I mean reading the different personalities in the Batgirls comic, has been really fun because Cassandra Cain has a history of never being taught how to speak, never was taught how to read because her father was an assassin and trained her to be an assassin, and all she did was learn how to fight. And there's something weird about how she is fluent in body language and can tell what anyone's going to do, but she never learned how to speak or anything, which is quite unfortunate. But it's really interesting because after she becomes Batgirl, she does learn how to speak, but she's not very talkative. She uses very short responses and everything. And I love how that there's, oh goodness, I love how there's so many references to her learning how to speak now, because there are times in which she's going to the bookstore to get more books to practice reading, and there's sometimes comments about how she's a little more talkative at one time or another, and I feel like they sort of really did a good job leaning into the fact that she has this background of not speaking. And I thought they did that really, really well. And I was very happy about that. But also a fun thing that they did was they did sort of give her more of a typical teenage experience. And when I say typical teenage experience, it's basically just having some stuff that you really enjoy that's yours that's sort of normal. And I thought it was really fun seeing that in a basically crime fighting story in which someone was raised not to to be an assassin. And so I think my favorite part was so far that I mean character wise favorite part has been they had to evacuate their one place and they went to move in some place else to be in hiding, and while she was moving some boxes in, Cassandra Cain ended up being attacked, and to not draw suspicion she didn't fight back and lost her favorite robe, and she was really upset about it. And so she ended up sneaking out and finding the people and getting her robe back. And when you see the robe, it is nothing that you would have seen, because before this in the comic, and I have never read any of the Cassandra Cain line, but right away in the comic, she is just going around taking down an almost army by herself. And then she gets back and her robe that she was really upset about is purple and is a unicorn. And I just thought that was the most brilliant choice to have a former assassin, someone who was raised to be assassin, have a unicorn robe that is just so silly. And I thought it was just a great choice to sort of have that thought of she is now embracing being her own person and experiencing things. So with this comic just having all three of the Batgirls, all three have different personalities, I have been in love with just the Batgirls and researching all the different ones, and it's something that I've been really enjoying. And so when Comic-Con was coming up, I wanted to do something Batgirl related, but also have a comfy thing. So I saw the t-shirt dress that ended up being like Cassandra Cain's inspired, and I was like, okay, I can make a utility belt, and the utility belt I can wear for Barbara Gordon Batgirl, Cassandra Cain Batgirl. I cannot for Stephanie Brown because Stephanie Brown has that different color pattern. And that is something that I think is just so great about the Batgirls, is that they are very different, though they have the same name, but they're all different. I mean, it's very different too. Was it the Robins? Every time I see different Robins in something, and I just have to ask my boyfriend, I'm like, okay, which Robin is this? What happened to that one? Why? I don't know. But then if you go to the Batgirls, all of them have a very distinct personality. And if you want to get into comics, I do suggest the Batgirls line. Again, I am sort of playing catch up. I didn't know about it until I think the 13th issue, so I've had to be playing catch up, but it's a lot of fun. If you want to have more story times talking about comics and different things, please let me know, because I would be so happy to. I could talk about Batgirl even more, get in more detail about Barbara Gordon, because I know most about Barbara Gordon and other things. But as for this video, this is going to end up being a two-part video because, oh my goodness, I have so much video. This is going to take me so long. If you enjoyed this, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'm so happy that you joined me today. Have a bat-tastic day. Bye.